Hey guys, it's David McWaters back with our final current event application video, our Module 6 video. And for our final video, we decided to talk about control. Control within management is the regulation of organizational activities so that some targeted element of performance remains within the acceptable limits. Without this regulation, organizations would have no indication of how well they are performing in relation to the goals that they have set. The purpose of control is to provide four different things. First, to be able to adapt to environmental change, to limit the accumulation of error, to cope with organizational complexity, and finally, to minimize costs. There are four functions of control that we'd like to look at today. The first, Christy Bailey is going to speak on, and that's operations control. The second is financial control, and Cynthia Huff will speak about that. Curtis Griffin will go right after that and talk about structural control, and Ling Chang Chin will finish it all up with strategic control. So, I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks.
Operations control concerns the processes used to transform all resources at the disposal of an organization into their final products or services. There are three forms of operations control: preliminary, screening, and post-action. Preliminary control is the first point in the transformation process, and it focuses on making sure the inputs, financial, material, human, and information, are adequate. This can include ensuring that the proper method for obtaining funds is in place, making sure that the quality of materials used is in line with the goals of the organization, making sure employees are adequately trained and that all levels of the organization are properly staffed, and making sure that the decisions they make are based on accurate and timely information. Screening control is the second point in the transformation process, and it concentrates on making sure that the quality and quantity of products or services provided meets the organization's standards as they are being transformed. This essentially equates to periodic quality control checks along the transformation process prior to the final product or service output. Post-action control focuses on the final quality check after the product or service is produced, and the action that should be taken to either correct errors or maintain the status quo. Successful organizations, such as Boeing, incorporate all steps of operations control. Recently, Boeing conducted a very important operational post-action control procedure for their new aerial tanker. This tanker allows Air Force jets to refuel mid-flight and was delayed 4 months due to wiring and other systems issues. After final inspection, Boeing took a test flight to, quote, check the basic integrity of the aircraft and exercise all systems. This was to ensure that the final product met all standards as far as engines, flight controls, and environmental systems were concerned.
The next level of control that I will be discussing is financial control. Financial control is concerned with the organization's financial resources, such as monitoring receivables to make sure customers are paying bills on time. In fact, financial control is the control of financial resources as they flow into the organizations, are held by the organizations, and flow out of the organization. Businesses must manage their finances so that revenues are sufficient to cover expenses as well as still return a profit to owners. If a company does not have adequate controls in place to monitor financial management, they may report incorrect information to shareholders, to the public, or the IRS, and be vulnerable to fraudulent activity. For example, AccountingToday.com published an article on September 29th relating to the Los Alamos Bank having to pay a $1.5 million fine to settle charges of accounting fraud. The former CEO, the former Chief Credit Officer, and the VP for Internal Audits failed to implement sufficient internal audit controls and failed to ensure that the bank's books and records were reasonably accurate. Tools such as budgets, financial statements, and financial audits can be used as a means of financial control. An article related to financial control on Chron.com titled Weaknesses in Financial Management Internal Controls reminds us that a major weakness in financial control is a lack of adequate documentation. For example, an accountant needs to be able to reconstruct who initiated a payment, who approved it, who modified it, if it was modified, who executed it, and what resulted from the payment, whether the records are in paper or digital form. Additionally, there needs to be a function separation, such as one person issuing checks while another person or two people sign the check, and then a different person reconciling the bank statement. Beyond that, preparation of financial statements such as an income statement that reflects revenues less expenses, as well as comparing current revenues and expenses to budget projections, is another means of financial control. Finally, the Crime.com article also points out that weaknesses in financial management controls have clear causes and remedies. You only have to identify the problem areas, determine why your controls are not effective, and apply the corresponding corrective action. Thank you.
Structural control focuses on how the different elements of a company's organization structure are performing within their designated function. There are two major categories of structural control: bureaucratic control and decentralized control. Bureaucratic control focuses on stringent rules and a rigid hierarchy that demands employee compliance. RAND Corp analysts Howard J. Schatz and Erin Elizabeth Johnson released a report explaining that the Islamic State, also known as ISIS, is both a bureaucratic organization and a terrorist army. It operates under 5 fundamental pillars: security, Islam-based Sharia law, military forces, administration and recruitment, and an extensive media and social media operation. The Islamic State established each of these pillars inside every block of territory it captures, so the civilian population is immediately controlled. Bureaucratic control is advantageous because there is a set of procedures for many work-related issues and how to handle them. Also, decision-making time can be shorter since less individuals are involved in the process. Bureaucratic control can discourage creativity and innovation within the company, and organizations can also find it difficult to adapt to changes within their industry. Decentralized control contrasts almost completely with bureaucratic control. It is an approach to management set by informal rules and an organic structural hierarchy with the goal of employee commitment to the company. Brown & Brown Inc. recently announced the realignment of its insurance retail division. The division will be broken down into 6 distinct regions. The new decentralized operating structure is intended to be more agile and help deliver solutions to customers while increasing the opportunity for additional organic growth. Decentralized control allows for employees to make some decisions rather than all decisions making coming from a central manager. A company using this type of control relies heavily on group norms and a strong corporate culture, which allows employees to police themselves. This empowers employees, giving them a sense of importance by letting them have some input. There could be a large number of small procedural differences that vary between individuals in the same company, which could cause problems.
Hello, my name is Lane. Today I will talk about strategy control. Strategy control involves tracking a strategy as it being implemented. It's also concerned with detecting problem or change in the strategy and making necessary adjustment. As a manager, you tend to ask yourself questions such as whether the company is moving to the right direction, or whether your assumptions about major change and change in the company's environment are correct. Such questions necessary the embellishment of strategy control. And there are 4 types of strategy control. The premise control is your business strategy is based on the assumed premise of how things will occur in the future. And premise control allow you to examine whether the assumption still hold true once you actually put your idea into action. And second is implementation control. Once you design a strategy for your business, you will need to implement it as you take the steps necessary to put your plan into action. Use implementation control to assume no adjustment to your strategy are necessary. And then special alarm control. You will need merchandising in place to assess the position of your business in the case of sudden event, such as natural disease, product recall, or market spike. And the last one is a strategy surveillance control. As a small business owner, you need to protect your business from external threats that might heighten the success of your strategy. Strategies surveillance control allow you to monitor multiple sources of those threats.
By exploring control over these past few minutes, we've understood why the four functions of control play such a huge role in businesses today. By implementing these four different functions, quality is more often met and standards are upheld. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching today. Thanks.